Hi, my name is Lauren White. In this lesson, we'll learn how to name straight-chain alkanes. In this lesson, we'll talk about the rules and conventions that we use to name straight-chain alkanes. The first rule that you need to know to properly name straight-chain alkanes is that all alkanes, which are just hydrocarbons with only carbon-carbon single bonds, is that they're always named using the suffix -ane. This is also actually part of why we call them alkanes. In order to actually name a specific straight chain alkane, though, you need to count the number of carbons present in the chain and then use the IUPAC prefix that indicates that number of carbons. So if there's one carbon, you use the prefix meth. If there are two carbons, you use the prefix eth. Three carbons, use the prefix prop, and so on. Some of these prefixes may look very familiar to you, maybe from geometry when you were naming the sides of polygons. That's because these are actually derived from Greek and Latin numbers, and we use these prefixes in many different disciplines. Knowing them, or at least being familiar with them, in one content area can help you in another, organic chemistry in this case. So for example, if I told you we had a straight chain alkane with two carbons, we would name it with the prefix eth and the suffix -ane to get the overall name of ethane. So if we're given a molecule, like this one, we first need to count the carbons. In this case, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. So we would use the prefix but and the suffix -ane to find that the name of this compound is butane. Let's practice using these rules together. Again, we always want to start by counting the number of carbons. In this case, we're given a formula to name. So how many carbons do we have here? Well, just one, and the prefix for a one carbon molecule is meth. And put that with our suffix -ane, and we find that this molecule's name is methane. Now, this is a molecule you've likely heard of since it's a gas and it comes up quite a bit in general and organic chemistry. And now you know its structure and how to name it in case you see it again. Let's do another one. Here we have a Lewis diagram, and there are lots of hydrogens shown. Don't let this confuse you though. The hydrogens are not important for naming the molecule. So let's just focus on what we do need, the number of carbons. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. And the prefix for a 5-carbon molecule is pent. Put our suffix -ane, and we have the name of this molecule is pentane. Great. Let's try a couple more examples. Notice that this structure in part C hides our hydrogens, but remember they are still there. This is just a less cluttered way to look at a molecule, but the carbons will always form 4 bonds, so if there's only one bond going to a carbon, you know there would be 3 hidden hydrogens. Sometimes we call these implied hydrogens. Again, though, the hydrogens don't change how we name it, so let's look at how many carbons we have. A good rule of thumb with these structures is that the ends will be carbons and all the corners, like we see here, will also be carbons. So let's count our carbons. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The prefix for a 6-carbon molecule is hex. With our -ane suffix, the name of this molecule is hexane. One more practice problem together. Here we're given the formula again, but our task is the same. Identify how many carbons and apply the correct prefix added to the suffix -ane. So here, let's count our carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 carbons. This is a prefix you're probably very familiar with from naming octagons, for example. The prefix for an 8-carbon molecule is oct with the suffix -ane. This molecule is octane. Again, this is another molecule you've likely heard of. It's included in gasoline to run our cars. Now you should feel more comfortable naming straight-chain alkanes. This is a crucial skill for organic chemistry, so be sure to practice this and make sure that you know the prefixes and are comfortable with the steps to name a straight-chain alkane.